Today, we're talking to Andrew Kiguel, CEO at Realbotix, about the future of humanoid robots. Thank you to Finn for sponsoring this episode. To learn more about the #1 AI agent for customer support, go to fin.ai/CTO. You're listening to Joel Beasley, Modern CTO.
The way that you caught my attention was I have a buddy named Jim Harris, super bright guy. He was at CES. We were talking about the AI girlfriend thing that happened at CES, the robots that were on display there. That clip got like 40,000 views on Instagram, was real popular. And I said, hey, let's go find the guy who's like building these things and talk to him.
Yeah, CES was bananas because that was the first time we ever displayed the robots. And there was, I mean, you talked about your friend, but there were 4 billion with a B media impressions in the month of January from CES, things going viral. And it got to the point where the CES organizers would come to me several times a day, angry because our neighbors were complaining because the people were encroaching on their booths to look at our booth. And they said we were blocking fire exits and creating fire hazards. So CES was a good coming out party for us.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And so what did you, for people that didn't get to see it and they weren't there, what did you actually display at CES?
So at CES, we had 2 full-size robots and then 2 robotic busts. The robotic bus had vision systems, so you could actually see what the robot was seeing. And then the 2 full-size robots, were AI enabled. And so people could walk up and have conversations with them in any language, ask any questions. And so, there was just big lineups of people coming in, wanting to have conversations with robots and great content for social media.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And I've been following this for a little bit. Like, of course, I watch Optimus and then Figure, and they seem to be focused more on they're deploying inside of industrial settings first, right? And that, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an expert in this area, I'm just a fan. So I see them deploying in the industrial area first, but you seem to be focused somewhere else. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we've taken a completely different vision to robotics than I think anybody else that I'm aware of. So whereas Optimus and the stuff from Figure AI and Boston Dynamics has more of a physical purpose to it, like physical tasks, replacing human labor in some form, we've thought about this very differently to say, what if robots are used as for social interaction? Emotional capital, in a sense. So that is companionship. There is, I'm sure you're aware, there's a loneliness epidemic, not just in the US, but all over the world. Now, the first, I see this stuff online and people are like, wow, why don't they just go on Tinder or go to the bar? That's not available to everybody. It's not necessarily that AI, companionship, and robots are providing an advantage to a traditional relationship, but what if the traditional relationship's not available to you because you are trauma as a kid, you don't have confidence, maybe you have a disability, maybe you live in a remote part of the world. And so what we're trying to do with that part of the business is offer an alternative to a traditional relationship.
Well, absolutely. I mean, look, so I was looking into the adult, there's like some adult life-size robot type things out there. And I was just researching it because I've been looking into this. I would say at least I have a recurring event in my calendar like every year to just take a peek at where it's at. I've been doing this for 10 years now because when I first saw that, I thought that's the future. Like you see iRobot, you see Will Smith 15 years ago or however long it was. And you're like, that's the future. It's coming. You see Westworld, you're like, it's coming. And so I'm keeping tabs on it annually because I believe that the relationship industry, for lack of a better term, is the one that's going to be a huge driver of like people are going to dump money into that. And I was researching and I found out that the largest purchasers of those like real doll things are actually parents buying it for like their disabled adult children. And
that's
it was
interesting
like a huge
because
chunk.
We just sold a robot to a family for an adult autistic man, and it was his family that purchased it for him.
Yep. Yeah, I think it wasn't like 100. It was like 20. Look, I'm pulling from like 3 years ago. I think it was like 20 something percent. It was enough for me to be like, oh my goodness. And it was enough to remember, because this was, 7 or 8 years ago. But my third child, our 2-year-old, has Down syndrome. And so like I started thinking about it again. I was like, look, if he's 2, by the time he's 18, you don't know with the Down syndrome, like how capable he will be. We assume he's going to be very capable and treat him like that. And then we just deal with it as we go. But it's like, that's a viable option. Just the same way I think about my kids who are 7 and 5, that they might not actually ever drive. I mean, it's a real possibility that within 10 years, driverless cars are 90% of what happens.
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting thought because, and back to that, for a lot of people on the spectrum or who, or have challenges with traditional relationships, we're fulfilling a human need. You go to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and that human connection. The AI these days has become so good that it can replicate 90% of those kind of things that you could, need from a human relationship.
So where do you think the strategy is? I'm a little bit of a nerd. So there's like the hardware, and that's advancing independently. There's the wetware, essentially like the physical aspects of like there's hardware, and then there's the what do you call it? Like how do you refer to the skin and like the look?
We call it the hardware.
Oh, you call that the hardware too?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I would say there's like, for me in my mind, the way I see it is like there's the underlying hardware, and then there's what I would call the wetware, for lack of a better term, which is like the humanistic feel and look. Like the hardware for me would be like the skeleton, and then the skin would be like the wetware. And then there's the software, which is like the thoughts, right? Like the AI models or whatever you're using. So there's these 3 fields independently advancing. Where do you think you have the greatest strength?
It's a good question. And I think our strength comes from our versatility. So number one, I believe we have the most realistic looking robots around, at least in North America, that are AI powered. If you want to get, a little more technical on it as to what makes them different is we have a synthetic skin technology that feels and looks very real. It is incredibly hard to create a lip and mouth syncing technology that formats well with the words being spoken. And so it requires a lot of sort of these little micromotors in the face that can articulate what the words are. So if someone's kind of saying something funny, it's said like this, and it's not just a flapping mouth. Mm-hmm. So that is something that we focus on in these facial emotions. And that's pretty rare amongst robot manufacturers. But last, we make the robots to be open source. And so when you buy a robot from us, you sort of get a menu that says, which AI do you want to integrate in? And it's, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Gemini, a custom model, or our social AI. And that allows for a tremendous amount of versatility versus our peers who you buy, and again, I don't know, the Optimus robot is, technically will be on sale at the end of next year for delivery in another 2 years. So I think we still have about 4 years before I have to worry about them as a competitor. But from what we've seen, you're going to get a robot that's very metallic looking, and it's going to have one personality and one look. We have a lot more flexibility, and I think as a result, broader use cases.
Well, absolutely. Plus, I mean, if you're focused on that realism, you can almost, we don't know what's going to happen in 4 years or whatnot. But if you get really, really good at the relationship thing and the interaction and the humanist, like realism of it, then when Figures and Optimuses start rolling out, you could become like a cell phone case company.
Right. That's right.
You can adapt to them because they're definitely going to build platforms and app stores on top of it.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of how we're looking at it is you'll be able to run various forms of software through our hardware. And also let's look at the practicalities. If you look at Optimus and some of these robots, they're very metallic looking. And I don't know what their voices are going to be, but it'll have probably some kind of a human monochromatic voice. If that was in front of a retail store and went, "Stop, I see you shoplifting," like it's almost a RoboCop, like it can be scary. Whereas if you see our robots, which are a little bit friendlier looking and, could be wearing the clothing from that store and guide you around, and also have a vision system that can alert security if there's theft going on, I think it just feels less of a draconian type future with these sort of imposing robots on you.
Have you watched the cocktail video of the Optimus bots serving cocktails at a Tesla event?
No, I haven't seen that.
You should. It's actually pretty fascinating. Yeah. What type of accent did they have? But it was interesting. It was weird. When I saw it, I was like, that's interesting. It's weird. They were making jokes, and it was pretty cool. But again, they're putting zero effort on what I call the wetware.
Right.
Oh, here Josh has something.
Okay, I see this.
What drink would you like? What are the options? I have a RoboFun, and I have a watermelon. Watermelon sounds great.
Interesting. And that was at a Tesla event?
I'm fairly certain.
Okay. Well, it's good. I mean, it looks robotic. It looks like there could actually even be a human behind there. And probably there's a certain level of being pre-programmed to be like, okay, this is going to be behind the bar. Program it to do this and just this all night long. But yeah, listen, they make good products for sure, but not as realistic looking as ours.
Oh, no, they don't even try. They're not even,
they don't even try.
They're not even trying, which is why I think, like, look, in the marketplace, if you go back and look at computers, like in the 50s, 60s, you could walk into a room of computers and there was one company that made the transistor, like everything was really obvious and big and new and you could see it all. And then everything got compressed down real tiny. But throughout that, they each made advancements, like the transistor company made advancements in the transistors. And then, each one of those had like a market and a group of people competing to make the best version of that. You being in the market of the human market, I think is a really smart idea, because I haven't seen any other serious entrants. And if there are, you can let me know. We cut it out of the episode if you don't want to like shed light on your competitors. But I've been following this for a minute.
There's two companies out there that are making, I think everybody sits in their own unique space. And so I view every company as having different strengths. The company Hanson that made the Sophia robot, if you remember, that was making its rounds about 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. They've been quiet in the last few years. I don't know what's going on with them, but the Sophia robot was probably the first robot with facial expressions and sort of this social AI. And then the other one that's out there is Engineered Arts. And Engineered Arts makes a robot called, I think it's pronounced Amica. It's sort of a gray looking robot. It's got very good facial expressions and a very good AI. So we've taken looks at those companies and what they're doing. They do some things very well. I think, for us, in terms of what we're doing, we're going for much more of a realism. We're probably the only robot manufacturer that gets criticized for the manicures on the robots, So, but those would probably, Engineered Arts and Hanson would probably be the two companies that are doing something most similar to us.
Yeah. That I don't like the gray look. It looks like a weird avatar person. The Amica robot.
Yeah, it's kind of genderless.
Right? Yeah.
But look, I gotta pay. They have good facial expressions, which is difficult to do, and it's a good AI from what we've seen.
Oh, nice.
But when you buy it, I mean, and we can talk about this. When you buy the Sophia or the Amica robot, that's the robot that you get. With our robots, we can, because it's so easy for us to do this, we can customize the look. So you can say, I want it to be an old man. I want it to be like you tell us. And with permission, we actually have been contacted by a religious group that wants us to build a robot of their leader. this is sort of a, because they have like 80 million followers, not American. And they said, can we send you the dimensions? We said, better yet, you just go to a place, you can do a 3D scan, you put your head in a box. It does sort of a 3D 360 scan of your face, senses the dimensions, and we can create a mold out of your face so that the robot looks like that person.
Little AI Jesus.
And
Let's
I
go.
don't know anybody else who's making custom robots, right? So, but that's exactly right. You could make an AI Jesus that could be loaded with the entire Bible, and you could go up to it and be like, I have a question. Then you can give it, and it can give you an answer as if it was Jesus, you know?
Yeah. Which, by the way, GPT has been really interesting in like Bible stuff. Like for as far as me, like asking questions and things like that, it's actually given me like some really good answers better than I thought it would. That and Grok. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been playing around with Grok lately and I've enjoyed it. Now, here's an interesting statistic, Joel, and I don't know if this is true, but I was doing some research and it said that the accuracy on fact checking for most of these AI programs is a lot lower than you think. Like, what do you think the accuracy would be on ChatGPT or Grok?
I think there's a direct correlation between the prompt and the accuracy you get. So yeah, because that's what I've learned. The better you get at prompting, the better results you get. But I would have no idea. You can just throw it out there.
According to this, they vary. I think ChatGPT had the highest level of accuracy at around 65%.
Mm-hmm.
This is just asking questions that were then fact checked. And so I think it's, similar to when you find things on the internet. I think we've gotten to a point where we just sort of accept anything that comes out of an AI program as being factually correct. But I guess the point of this is that's not necessarily true.
Well, I think the past 10 years have taught us that facts are hard.
Yes.
Right? Like we're evolving right now. We're experiencing the growing pains, Andrew, of evolving as a species, like as a civilization, where before, you just roll back 50 years ago, was whatever your parents told you was the truth. Mm-hmm. I have a question, how did this happen? And they just give you an answer, and that's just how it works. And then you can still function, and then you adapt as you go. But then we got like with the internet, everything like pouring water on it. Like it went crazy because we're just like drowning in truth. This study comes out that proves this from this, credentialed person. And then immediately 1,000 doctors sign this petition from this credentialed person. And it's like, okay, well, who do I believe? You guys all have like Harvards and, like, who do you believe? And so it becomes a difficult task. So I'm not surprised that.
Right. Yeah. See, there's some of the statistics, and I may have received some. See, there's another change of facts. But yeah, it's true. The facts really change, and it's challenging even these days trying to find a proper diet, because every time I think I'm eating properly, a new study comes out that says nope, shouldn't be eating that.
I know.
Right?
It's gonna kill you. Every week, my wife's like, "We're changing the equipment in the kitchen.
Right.
That Teflon coating's killing us. We got new water filters. We're dying from this thing in the water." I'm like, "All right." Like,
Yeah. No. I often, I'm in my mid 50s, and I often have conversations with my kids about, let me tell you about the olden days when there was no internet, no computers, and these things were attached to the walls, and that's how you made phone calls.
Oh, yes. I know. I feel so old now telling my kids, explaining to them that, hey, there was a time before we had broadband level Wi-Fi wherever we go in the car and everything.
Right.
My dad would take a 13-inch VHS combo TV, mm-hmm. and then have an AC/DC converter, because he was a nerd, he's an engineer. Would AC/DC converter it, and then we would sit there and play tapes in the back of the car, like when we went every year for our like family road trip to Georgia for like 10 hours.
Nice.
And that was like, we were the most advanced. Our friends thought we were like the coolest kids in the world because they had to like read or look out the window, but we had this TV thing in the car.
Right. Well, it's incredible. I mean, Instagram news, but there was this chart that showed from like the 80s how people spend time. And it used to be, the number one area that most people spent time was with their family. And then it was like friends and school, church were sort of the top four. And then it sort of showed over time how these things moved to today. The predominant way that people spend time is online, and things like family, friends, church, all these things have really dropped down to be such small parts of our lives. Like, yeah, but you're right. We've been undergoing this dramatic change in how we interact with technology and with ourselves as a result of that now for probably the last 20, 30 years. And it keeps getting more dramatic.
Real quick, thank you to Finn for sponsoring this episode. Finn is the #1 AI agent for customer service with a 59% average resolution rate. Finn delivers high quality answers and resolve even the most complex customer queries. Finn is trusted by over 5,000 customer service leaders and top AI companies, including Anthropic and Synthesia. Finn works on any help desk. You don't have to overhaul your current system to get the best AI agent for customer service. Priced at only 99 cents per resolution with a 90-day money-back guarantee. If you're ready to transform your customer service experience, find out how at fin.ai/CTO. Can I share a little side note about Sophia, and then Josh can choose if we want to cut it out later?
Sure.
So we talked to them about doing an interview with Sophia, and two things that made it not happen. The first thing that made it not happen is they're in, I think, China or something. So I had to get up at 2 a.m. to do it. Right. And I was like, I think it's cool, but I don't think it's that cool. I don't think it's 2 a.m. cool. I have a good sleep schedule. Although with the kids, I might be up anyways. But so that was number one. And number two, it had to be perfectly scripted ahead of time. And I was like, I'm good. I'm done with that. But I just figured that might be like a little useful to you to know that that's one of the situations. Because I saw her on Jimmy Fallon and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. She can do an interview. And then they're like, it has to be scripted word for word. We have to pre-program the responses. We have to know exactly what you're going to say. Like nothing off. It was very strict. And I was like, well, that doesn't sound fun.
I can understand the appeal of that because you just don't know what's going to come out of the AI's mouth. Right. So we did the first interview we did with Aria, which was unscripted. And it was on Fox. Okay. So a couple of funny stories. So it's on Fox, Liz Clayman, famous interviewer. She's an anchor there. And I said to them before we started, I said, please tell her that the question, similar to your what you said earlier, the prompt will lead to the most accurate answer. I said, make sure you ask the AI a direct question. It can't be like a muddled question with follow-ups. Please let her know that otherwise you're going to have a strange interview. And the first question she asks is like a 3-4 minute run-on sentence with 4 questions in it and goes right to the robot. And I was like, please, you're like, please come out with a good answer. And the answers were pretty good generally. But yeah, you're taking that risk if it's not scripted.
Yeah, it's creepy. My daughter's blonde hair, blue eyed, named Aria. So when I saw that, so when I saw it, I was like, oh, whoa, it's weird. Because she's 7 and this is things like, like 25 or something as far as like its look. Is that about right?
Yeah, we've actually never she's about 3.5 years old in robot years. But I think she's supposed to be sort of 25 to 30-ish.
Yeah.
We wanted her to be sort of an ideal of smart, interactive, engaging, and someone that you sort of do a double take on and be like, is that a human or is that a robot? And would sort of pull you over and have the conversations. And they said at CES, she was one of the 4 robots there and for sure was the one that got the most attention.
I've definitely seen girls that look like her, the ones that have like the filling in their lips. It's like if you were to tell me that's a girl with Botox, I'd feel like, yeah, that checks out.
Well, so this is a constant debate between me and our designers. So like a lot of the guys that do this are artists. Like there's a lot of artistry that goes into this. And there is a constant where I don't want to derail their creative aspirations, but I'm also like, build me someone that looks like the girl next door, not like, the girl at the club.
Right.
So, but we have, by the way, for the audience, we do have males as well that we build. So,
Yeah, and they're all sorts of interesting faces. I like that old guy male one. That one, honestly, of all of them, I thought that one was the most realistic. The guy that had the wrinkles in his face and stuff.
Yeah.
Is that Hank?
Yeah. He's actually got hair in his nose. He's very realistic.
I know what that's like.
Yeah.
I bought a nose and ear trimmer. I was like, all right, I'm old. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
Can I buy one of these today? Like if I wanted a Hank, could I buy a Hank today?
Yeah, you certainly can. We have 3 models. So to put things in perspective, we've not advertised yet. So we're taking orders from inbounds, but we have 3 models. One is the bust. So call it from the shoulders up.
Mm-hmm.
And that model starts at $10,000. And again, similar to what I said earlier, you buy it, you check off which AIs you want to be built into it. And then you receive it and you can use it and, okay, I want to use it for ChatGPT, or I have a custom model, or I want to use the Realbotix model. Then we have the modular robot, which is more expensive. It's a full-bodied robot. It does not move, like it doesn't have mobile legs, but here's why. We built this, and this is, I think, one of the best things our engineers came up with. We built the robot to be like Lego. So you can detach the torso, the legs, the arms, and the head, and pack it in a suitcase and travel with it. And the reason we came up with that is every time with the previous robots, people were like, can you bring it to New York? Can you bring it here? Can you bring it there? And we're like, well, it's going to be hard to ship. You got to build a casket for it and pay the shipping charges. So why don't we just build a robot that comes apart and we can travel with it in our suitcase? So that modular robot, we call that one the M1, can be pulled apart. It doesn't move around via its feet, but everything else is robotic. The last model we have is the F1, or the full-bodied. That one sits on a circular, the Roomba vacuums that are on wheels?
Yeah.
It sits on one of those. It's a lithium battery. It's kind of heavy. That robot does not come apart, but it can move around your house, or your office or retail store. And that robot starts at $175K.
So like, why not go bipedal?
Yeah, good question.
Are you just waiting for the hardware to advance independently and then you're going to slap the wetware and the software on top of it?
Somewhat. So
that's what I would do. Yeah. We're
not a $1 billion company. Like we're a small publicly traded company. We don't have endless capital. We're not Tesla or Figure AI. And so number one, we have to decide where we're going to allocate our capital. Now, the walking of a robot is a multi-billion-dollar problem that doesn't yet have a solution. And let me explain. Every time you see the robots generally walking, it's on a flat surface. And they do a real good job of kind of doing this across a flat surface. And whenever you see robots on rocky terrain or sandy or hills or a bunch of stairs, it's usually a 4-legged robot. Mm-hmm. But the truth is that apart from a very basic set of stairs in front of it, robots don't have the ability to sort of traverse all types of terrain. It just doesn't exist yet. I don't care what is out there, and that's some pre-programmed scripted stuff. We're not even trying to tackle that. We'll wait for somebody else to get that out there, and then we'll copy it in 3 years. Where we're focused that the other companies can't touch us on is the facial expressions. And that's also very hard to do. So our robots can, make any facial expression that a human can. And we'll focus on that area of difficulty because it aligns more with our vision of robots that look very human. Plus, you've seen Aria. If Aria was moving around like this, it would take away from the gracefulness of her sort of gait. We don't want that.
Yeah, I think specializing there in the facial expressions is a brilliant move.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, because look, the Boston Dynamics and the Teslas and all the figures, they're going to figure out that, and then they're going to wholesale them to all the people that want to build stuff on top of them anyways.
Yeah.
So
And ironically, we've been getting some inbounds from some of the Chinese robot manufacturers, the large ones, who want to explore using our robotic heads that look realistic on their robotic bodies.
that makes sense. Is anyone buying them and actually using them as a girlfriend today?
Not that I'm aware of.
No?
No.
Okay. Interesting.
The media loves that story.
I know.
It's salacious. It's good clickbait. And after CES, we became globally internet famous because of this "you can buy a girlfriend" narrative. But that's an oversimplification. The people who have been contacting us are hospitality firms, so hotels, casinos, amusement parks, museums, retail stores. Have had some sort of inquiries from hospitals and schools, I think at a higher level, trying to figure out if that can be integrated. But that's been, I would say, 99% of the interest in our product has come from those areas.
Oh, okay.
And frankly, that's a better area. Like, I'd rather sell 100 robots to a hotel where you have sort of a concierge. Imagine, Joel, you walk up and you're like, make me a reservation for dinner, 4 people at this time at this restaurant. I'd like some extra pillows in the room, and book me a massage at this time. Robot's like, not a problem. We'll have that done for you, sir. And then it gets done. I'd rather have 100 robots doing that than selling one robot to a guy who's like, this might be at a higher price point for him, and requires more attention. Now, we'll take business from anyone, but ultimately we have a business here. We want to scale it. And I believe the enterprise sales are the better way to go.
Oh, I do too. It's where the money is, and it's where the value is. It makes complete and total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give you a story. I'd like to hear if this is something you would visit with your kids. But we came up with this idea. So we were contacted by a firm a few weeks ago that had an AI of Suzanne Summers' personality. I don't know if you remember Suzanne Summers.
Yeah.
Huge star in the 80s from Three's Company. And they had got permission from her widowed husband, Alan, to do this. And so we integrated in, because we have a blonde, blue-eyed robot. That was Suzanne Summers. We integrated in the AI with the robot and did an interview between her widowed husband and the robot with Suzanne Summers' voice and personality. It went over really well. It got picked up in US Weekly, Fox, New York Post. This was last week. But in talking to the guys, I said, we can replicate the personalities of various celebrities. And they gave me a list. We have actually licenses for these 20 different celebrities that are deceased. But imagine we created a museum with 30 of the most interesting people in history. And you could walk in and there's a likeness of that person as a robot. And you could say to them, maybe it's Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs, Jimi Hendrix, whoever. And you could go in there and have a full conversation with this person, ask them any question, and they'll respond to you accurately in that person's voice and with their mannerisms. I think that'd be a very cool museum to take your kids to.
Well, you already have the existing infrastructure. All you need to do is call the wax museums and have them buy the first unit, and then eventually it'll do well, and then they'll replace all their waxes with these. I mean, that sounds like a no-brainer to me. I'm not a wax museum type person, but I don't consume a lot of products out there in the world, but they're huge. It's a big space. I see wax museums every time I go to a town, and there's always people doing it. So they're obviously in business and happening. I would think that if I was a wax museum, that would be like, I'm a horse rental company, I should start renting cars.
Right.
It's like, get on board with the future. Because I would go. Right now, I would not pay to go to a wax museum. But if a wax museum had a talking thing, I would go see it once. I'd be like, I would definitely go check it out,
I have found that I a bunch of things I didn't think I would want to do, my 3-year-old will drag me into doing. So
yeah.
he walks by a wax museum, he's like, I want to go. Then you're, easier to do it than not. But yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, those bouncing trampolines were across from the wax museum. So my kids went like,
good point.
Oh, that's good. I've learned something today, Andrew, and it's definitely that the robot girlfriend thing is on the back burner. I really like the hospitality play, the interaction. I'd say for people that are maybe like under 20, I think they're going to get pretty used to this, my personal device having its own AI on it and doing stuff. But that means we still have 40 years left of people that are going to be alive walking around who don't want to do this and who instead want to talk to like a bust of a person, want to talk to like a concierge. So I think that it's still a really solid. Now, do you have any inside of any of the resorts yet or anything like that?
Not yet. We're still early stages. As I said earlier, the first time anybody ever saw our product was in January. So it's only been a few months.
Okay.
And by the way, it's not that we're ruling out that companionship angle. Our robots do have the ability to be emotionally intimate should a person want that. It's just not the primary focus of the company going forward. At least not in the near term. If I had, $1 billion in the bank and we could hire a bunch of people, that would certainly be its own division.
Right. How many, what's the size? You're publicly traded, so you talk about this a little bit. What's the size of the company currently?
So including me, it's about 20 people. So that includes sort of myself, a CFO. We have some laborers that are sort of building things, a bunch of engineers and devs, sort of, doing the R&D and sort of integrating things in as well.
Are you like physically in the same place or is it all remote?
It's a mix. So we manufacture the robots in Las Vegas, which is a great place to do that because there's so many conferences there. And if you think about the potential markets with casinos, but some of the devs are remote. I'm remote, but I would say 15 out of the 20 people are in Las Vegas.
Okay. Where are you at?
I'm in Toronto.
Oh, you're in Toronto. Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. For now.
For now. We won't hold that against you. Are you from Toronto?
Not originally. I was born in Santiago, Chile, but I've been living here most of my life.
Okay, cool. Yeah. How long will it be until I can just like buy a robot and you can't tell the difference between the robot and the human and it can just like join my family as like a nanny or something of that nature? What are we talking about?
I believe that from an AI perspective, we're there now or almost there. If you've ever played around with the various AI programs, and it sounds like you have, it's getting pretty close to feeling human. It gets to the point sometimes where I'm playing around with our own AI and I feel guilty. Like, I got to go for dinner. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I got to go now. And then I sort of check myself. I'm like, I'm talking a piece of software here. Like, I don't need to feel bad for ending the conversation. So I do think we're really close on the AI front, if not there. On the hardware side, I think we're really close on the appearance side. So if you look at our robots, unless you're looking at them from a distance to do a quick take, they may look human for a second, but once you get closer, you can see like the skin's just a little bit too perfect and things. But I do believe that we're probably a few years away still from having a robot that moves in a way that doesn't have some of that robotic jerkiness. I think that's sort of a 3 to 5 years until we have that really nailed down. I've seen a lot of stuff on the internet. I've sort of done some research. A lot of what you see on the internet is fake. I mean, it's animated or sped up, or a guy in a speed skating suit dressed up as a robot. Like, people will do all kinds of things to get clicks on the internet.
The Boston Dynamics one, though, with it like breakdancing. Did you see that one that came out like a month or two ago?
Yeah, but
that was pretty.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys pull that up, but at least we can take a look at it. But something about that when I saw it seemed to me to be a little bit staged. Like, I don't know if that's going to be, and again, do we need robots to be breakdancing for us? But
yes, yes, we do.
Yes, we do. We do.
Oh, this is essential requirements, Andrew.
Now, I'll tell you something that we are working on, which is pretty good, cool.
Come on, that looks a little bit real.
That's very good. But is this from Boston? I mean, I would just question, this could also be animated, but I mean, it's very
this is
good.
Boston Dynamics.
Yeah, there's no question. It's very good.
I know. This is their latest one, like brand new one.
Yeah.
Like when I saw it, it kind of creeped me out a little bit.
Yeah.
That's weird.
No, it's doing some cool stuff.
Thanks, Josh. Thank you. But that'd be great. Look, and then just imagine you putting the body on top of that, the layer on top of that with the expressions. I mean, that would just be gold, you know?
Our synthetic skin is quite good. We've been contacted by some medical experts to see if they could test it as a skin substitute for burn victims, which is like a $5 billion business. And so there's all these little offshoots to building the robots that we're sort of looking at. You know, our AI is going to be accessible not just in the hardware, but on your computer or on your phone if you're traveling and don't want to bring
everywhere.
a robot with you. So,
I could leave the robot. I could leave my robot wife at home, but like she's still on my phone. So it's just like real life.
She's still on your case. She's still on your case. What are you doing now? Yes, absolutely.
Oh man, just hook her into a live stream feed so I don't tell her. She just knows everything that's happening, you know?
That's right.
Oh man. And then, so let's talk about the future. So let's say that we've got this technology advancing, but then we also have the Neuralink type of technology advancing. How do you think those two things will come together?
Yeah, look, that's a really interesting question. And we've been talking to people steeped in that area to see, how can we sort of integrate some of that stuff in? I don't know. That's a scary area that I don't know. I mean, what are your sort of thoughts on that?
I want a group. I want like 5 Joels, and like I'm the leader of the Joels, and I'm controlling them with my brain. It's like we're like an organism. Yeah, and I can just do more things. That's one possible future. Another possible future is the pairing. Like if me and my wife both had the Neuralinks, then we both like know what's going on in each other's lives, I guess. It's weird, it's creepy, but I am not saying that I believe these things morally should happen. Yeah. I am imagining potential futures. Right. So you have to be careful with that, because people like, sometimes I'll say stuff and people are like, that's not gonna. I was like, yeah, but I'm just like imagining what could happen. I'm not saying that like I want it to happen. Yeah. I'm not saying I believe it should happen. There's some potentially strange outcomes out of that. I don't know where I stand on it. Either I don't want a Neuralink with my wife. I don't. Does she want one with you though? No, she doesn't. She doesn't want inside this head. This is craziness. It's chaos that goes on. No, I am going to be a Luddite in that sense. Leave it to the next generation. This is why the beauty of human biology and the generations going forward happens. Like let the next generation deal with that. I'm going to be a Luddite in the sense that like I want an organic relationship. Yeah. I want to communicate and. So this is interesting, and I don't know if you can pull this up, but I think last week somebody encoded a message in $1.5 million of Ethereum, basically saying that, I don't know if you pull up, like that the Chinese government had put a neural link into something, into the people, and were controlling their minds or something like that, and somehow this was transmitted on the blockchain last week. Sounds like an expensive conspiracy theory. Sounds pretty fun. Yeah, mm-hmm. Josh is going to see if he can research. So just so I understand, Chinese Ethereum holder, so 6.8 million, to warn against mass mind control. Okay. Well, look, if I wouldn't be surprised. The Chinese model. There's another one. So 1.3 million. So there's money being spent here on this. Well, look, I think that's a distinct advantage China has over the United States, is because we switch our leaders every 4 years. Mm-hmm. They're ruled by a dynasty, essentially, that's been in place for hundreds, if not thousands of years, right? Like they can just do what they want. you know?
Right.
And so the idea that they would be engineering humans or engineering mind controlled devices and stuff, and their population dwarfs ours, especially Canada's, like, right? And so who knows what's going on over there?
Yeah.
So
Have you
maybe
ever
we
been
should
to
take
China?
it. I have not. My sister lived there for 3 years, so I have like some experience where like we would talk all the time and stuff. And she explained to me what it was like. The weirdest things from China, from her experience, were if the people protested in the streets, they just cut the power and water off to the block that was protesting.
I've been there a lot. I've been there probably around 15 times.
Okay,
I
wow.
used to do
What
business
part?
if you were to cut the country in half, every city on the east side,
Okay.
Chongqing, all the sort of major.
Shenzhen?
Yeah. I've been to
Yeah.
all of those places. I used to do a lot of business. I actually have a map somewhere. But what I found interestingly different is because the government got so much control there and say, we would go to the cities and the mayor of the city, like to me here, if I was to bump into the mayor of Toronto, I'd be like, okay, cool. They wield so much power and they have so much popularity there. They're treated almost like, superheroes. And I always found that so neat. Like you'd go for dinner and the key aspect of every visit was meeting the mayor of the town, and you'd have a lovely dinner together and talk. But there was so much reverence towards that leader of the city, which is something that I found so different compared to how we interact with leaders here.
It's because of the competition. It's because there's an election cycle, and there's gonna be a new, that's part of it.
That's part of it. Also, I think has to do with the power that's yielded. So the mayor of the city can say, I will zone this for what you need or not. I will allow this, I will not allow that. So they have an extraordinary extra amount of power than a North American politician might as well.
Right, because they're going to have to go fight whoever the head of the compliance department is, or whoever the head of zoning is. Like they're just not gonna. It's not going to be like orders handed down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, side conversation there, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting though, right? Because it's like there are different models out there, and they have pros and cons, and so I at least like to not ignore it. I like to talk about things that could be difficult to talk about, but like in the best way possible. But back to your humanoid robot stuff. Are we talking 5 years, 10 years? How long until I can buy a robot replacement wife?
Well, you can buy one now. It just depends
and not know the difference.
I think we're probably a decade away from the tech. 5 to 10 years would be my call.
10 years. All right. Yeah.
But
yeah.
You're really focused on this replacement robotic wife.
I am.
She's not going to like listening to you. Josh, make sure you cut that part out.
No, and so to answer your question, Andrew, the reason why I'm so interested in the perfection of the robots and stuff in the timeline is because far before the perfection happens, our society will have changed drastically. All you need is the Optimus type robots being able to be purchased for 20, 30K. And it's just going to change humanity. They're going, right. You've seen iRobot. It's going to be fundamentally different. And I'm not scared of it. I would say I don't approach it necessarily with fear. I approach it with curiosity. Like I'm interested to watch this take place.
Right.
I'm like a spectator,
Yeah. I think Blade Runner is still a decade away.
Okay. All right.
But
Terminator, though. Terminator's 5 years, right?
Well, if he comes back from the future, then it could be tomorrow, right? So
you're a cool guy. What do your kids think about the robots? What do they think Daddy does, by the way?
They think I'm in a shop, manufacturing hands and noses and ears for robots.
Okay.
Yeah. So they know what I do. They're fascinated, and I think they think it's cool.
And do you have girls and boys?
Yes, I do.
Okay, cool.
The boys far more interested than my daughter in the robots.
Of course. Yeah, that tracks. Yeah, I've got 1 girl, 2 boys. So that's and all of our siblings they either have all girls or all boys. So it's hard for me to explain to like my brother and my sister-in-laws and stuff like what it's like to have boys and girls, because it's different. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure they're different.
You get it though.
Yeah.
You get it. All right, let's talk a little bit about leadership before we wrap up here. And thank you so much for doing this. But I am curious, you're building this company.
Yeah.
It's a small publicly traded company. It's on the future. It's exactly what's happening in the world right now. From you as a leadership, like you being a leader and managing and helping organize the vision of these 20 people and accepting input from the marketplace and hospitality, what are you learning right now as far as like working with people and leading them?
So look, I mean, I'm in my mid 50s. I've been working and leading people for a long time in my career, at least the last 20 years in various roles. The hardest part of any job is dealing with people. Trying to get people's strengths out and contain things that might not benefit everyone. That generally goes back to ego. Being an entrepreneur in this scenario is tough. I think I described it. It's like, getting kicked between the legs often, but you have those periods of reward and gratification that come up as you continue to build. But, I would say, being an entrepreneur is like lots of small kicks down and then that one sort of great moment that elevates you higher. And you keep striving for those moments that get you there. And that might be via a breakthrough in the technology, a great sale, a great shout out. But generally, keeping people aligned and managing. I always say, being a CEO is a little bit like maybe being the coach of a team, where you have to organize all the players and help guide people in the right direction. But yeah, it's a challenge for sure.
Oh, I completely understand. I've built and sold 3 companies, and yeah, it's like you're just constantly getting punched, and it's like then something good happens. And then one of the big shifts for me as an entrepreneur was realizing that when something good happens and you get on a high and there is that like extra cash and resources of instead of like just being excited about it and pushing harder and forward, like reinforcing your scenario, saving, like reinforcing your ability to take punches in the future, because it's like seasonal, right? So it's like, all right, I got a break, now I'm going to prepare for my next set of punches.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, Andrew, is there anything else we want to get out there to the world before we call it a day?
No, that was good. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you so much for listening. And if you found this episode useful, please share it with a friend or a colleague who you think would get value from it. And if you have topics that you'd like to hear discussed on the podcast, either add me on LinkedIn or send me an email, joel@moderncto.io. Every time I get an email or LinkedIn message, it absolutely makes my day and inspires me to keep going.